Hi, Andy XL back with another NFXL podcast, and it's time to look at how all 32 teams fared last season and what they need to do to improve their chances of success next season or to repeat the successes that they had. Now, I'm going to start these from the bottom upwards. So, the team that finished bottom of the NFL standings last season first. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders, ending with last year's champions, the Seattle Seahawks, which would be the final piece I do. Now, I have written most of these pieces before the free agency window has opened and before the franchise tag window opened. So if I miss any updates on that, forgive me. Written all these in advance, so I'll try and get through them before any actions change any of that. But at least you'll have an idea of whether the moves they've made are the ones I see that they need to make or not, if you get my drift. So let's get started with the Las Vegas Raiders and a review of their season. Well, as I said, this is the first of 32 end of seasons reviews I'll do. In these reviews, I'll be analysing each team's positional strengths and weaknesses to highlight areas where they need to be active in the draft and or free agency this off-season. I'll use information from overthecap.com and spotrac.com for player contracts, statuses and costs, and for how much cap space each team may have to work with. So let's start at the bottom with the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the first overall draft pick and are going to have a new head coach after firing Pete Carroll. So at quarterback, Geno Smith was definitely a Pete Carroll addition for 2025, but cannot said to have paid off. Literally in terms of his contract, where he was due 26.5 million in 2026 and 39.5 million in 2027. Prior to the start of the 2025 season, I expressed my own view that this was a terrible move by the Raiders, and so it seems to have been, although I will allow some personal mitigation for Smith in that he played behind an atrocious O-line last season. Anyway, now the Raiders appear to have decided Smith is one and done and take the cap hit that comes with it. They're trying to look for a trade for him. If they can't trade for him, the rumours are that they're just going to release him in March. So over the cap projects the Raiders as having 91.5 million of cap space. So letting Smith go would take a chunk of that for sure, but would still leave them cap space to work with. Behind Smith, they had Kenny Pickett and Aidan O'Connell. Pickett will likely leave via free agency, leaving O'Connell as the only quarterback in the building, really. With the decision made on Smith, that makes adding Fernando Mendoza at quarterback with the first overall pick pretty much a certainty. So it appears that's what the Raiders are going to go down. Now, if you bring a new quarterback in, I did have a quick look back. I think there's only 5 quarterbacks this century, i.e., since the year 2000, that have had any success early in their career. Certain Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes being 2 of them. So there you go. You have to be pretty good, is what that tells you. Otherwise, Archie Manning was one, Ben Roethlisberger was another, and I'm trying to remember who the fifth one was now. Oh yeah, Russell Wilson. So in terms of Russell Wilson and Roethlisberger, they both benefited from being on 2 teams with awesome defenses. So it's really not the quarterback that's going to get you there in the early years. So by drafting Mendoza, the Raiders are accepting that they're starting a long-term project here, or they've started it in other means, but now they're just adding another piece. But it's still going to be a good 3, 4, 5 years before they can expect this to come to fruition. Let's move on from quarterback to running back. Ashley Jonte has actually received plenty of criticism for his rookie season. I just don't get that, as the Raiders' run offense ranked last in the league. But for me, Jonte was Offensive Rookie of the Year. He didn't even get a mention in the voting, but he led all rookies in scrimmage yards and tying Travion Henderson for the most touchdowns with 10. The issue was not him. Once again, it was that O-line that was the issue. Behind him, they have both Raheem Mostert and Zamir White about to hit free agency. So either a free agent addition or a mid to late draft pick to back Gionte up, and maybe one of Mostert or White back too, is all they need to do here. Because I see Gionte is still going to be one of the very best backs in the league, and I don't understand the criticism he got last season. Wide receivers. The Raiders' pass offense ranked 28th in the league and lost Jacoby Myers mid-season via a trade. That leaves them pretty thin indeed at wide receiver, with Trey Tucker being clearly their best option there, and even he did not reach 700 yards receiving and had just 5 touchdowns to his name. Tucker is a decent enough wide receiver too, but he's not a guy that you should have, maybe wide receiver two, borderline wide receiver three, but he's not a guy you should have as your best wideout. Behind him, no other receiver had more than 224 yards and more than 1 touchdown to their names. Mid-season addition Tyler Lockett is a 33-year-old veteran free agent this off-season. The Raiders may hope to see second season improvement from 2025 draftees Jack Besh and Dante Thornton, but there's clear need to add a quality wide receiver or two here, given that Tucker, Besh and Thornton are all at 24 or under. NFL experience via free agency would seem the better option than going back into the draft for a wide receiver. Now, the bad news there is there's not many of those types hitting free agency this offseason, so maybe a trade might be required to get what they need. At tight end, they have Brock Bowers and Michael Meyer in place. This is one position that requires no attention from the Raiders this offseason, which brings me on to that offensive line. I've already said it, this is the Raiders' biggest problem. When you rank last in the league for run offense and have allowed your quarterbacks to get sacked 64 times, nearly 4 a game, the evidence is damning and a rebuild of this unit is urgently required. Colton Miller was a big early season loss, so getting him back at left tackle will be a big step in the right direction. In order of need, tackles take priority. At guard, Dylan Parham is about to be a free agent. They may well bring him back to keep some stability in place, and 2025 draft pick Caleb Rogers only played the last 6 games of the season, so will probably stay in place for 2026. Starting centre Jackson Powers Johnson got hurt in week 10, so maybe they stick with him too for next season. But they have to sort the issues out at tackle, and upgrades on the interior would do no harm either. Maybe some veteran presence would be a good idea, as Parham, Powers, Johnson, and Rogers have an average age of just 24. If the Raiders fail to significantly boost this O line and improve it via both the draft and free agency, it's highly neglectful and means Giunta and whoever is at quarterback, it looks like Mendoza, is in for another season of toil and trouble. They have to sort this O line out before anything else, really. Defensive tackle. The Raiders ranked 24th against the run last season, and neither of Thomas Booker, Adam Butler, Jonah Lalu, or Tonka Hemingway played well in 2025. So, along with the O line, this is another area the Raiders badly need to address this off-season. Adding a real run stuffer via free agency or the draft looks a must, and another all-purpose interior D lineman would be a good idea too. So the trenches are going to be fundamental if the Raiders are going to start that path to success. On the edge, the Raiders' pass D was actually pretty good, ranking 12th in the league. Max Crosby gave them an elite rushing presence. Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, and Charles Snowden also chipped in to support him. Now, whether or not Crosby stays is the big question here. If he leaves, then obviously they've got a massive need there as well. But if he stays, it wouldn't be a priority area for the Raiders. And if they got the chance to add another edge guy, they certainly should. So whether Crosby stays or not, they need to go and get another edge guy to try and really make that a strong unit. But if Crosby leads, it becomes a desperate need. Inside linebacker, Elandon Roberts and Devin White both played well in 2025, but both are pending free agents. The Raiders would be wise to bring both of them back if they can, and if they do so, they'll probably put this down towards the bottom of their off-season to-do list. Lose one or both of them, and they will certainly need to add at least one via the draft or free agency. So the needs list is getting longer and longer here. But let's have a look at the secondary. As I said earlier, the Raiders had the 12th ranked pass defense in the league, but they ranked just 25th for interceptions with just 8 made. Excuse me. Kyle Blue Kelly had 3, and Isaiah Piolamoa had 2, with the other 3 coming from edge guys or inside linebackers. Eric Stokes had a strong season at quarterback, so with him, Kelly, and 2025 draftee Darian Porter, they don't look too bad at cornerback, but a ball hawk in addition could work well. Stokes and Kelly are about to hit free agency too, so losing any of them would mean replacements are definitely needed. Free safety is a position where they could look to upgrade, especially with Lonnie Johnson being a free agent this offseason. Special teams, finally. Kicker Daniel Carson will be a free agent this off-season and was just 11 of 16 on field goals beyond 40 yards last season and was only 13 of 19 from that range the season before. In the era of 45-yarders being pretty much chip shots for kickers, this is not good, and a change of kicker could be on the cards for 2026. So, in summary, the Raiders are in the AFC West with the Broncos and Chargers, who are both good teams and with possible improvement in them still. And of course, the Chiefs, who will be looking to bounce back in 2026. So the Raiders have plenty of work to do if they're even to get off the bottom of their division next season. In Brock Bowers and Ashton Johnson, they have two real gems, but need to build an O-line that allows them to both run and pass rather than just survive. And that's what Mendoza might have to do if they don't sort this O-line out. If they can improve their run blocking and pass protection to allow that to happen, the offense could take a big step forward next season. But if they do not sort the O-line out, they will pretty much need they will need a miraculous season from Fernando Mendoza. It looks like they're going to be a quarterback. So don't put a rookie quarterback in that position. They also need to add quality of wide receiver to allow the pass game to really get going. The current wide receiver core does not possess a wide receiver one, and not really a good wide receiver two. On defense, the interior of the D line definitely needs to improve, and they have free agency issues across the board, really, but certainly at inside linebacker and in the secondary, where a free safety upgrade and help at cornerback could be required. And another high end edge rusher would be nice, and ideally keep Crosby on board too. But if they lose Crosby, then that's a big step backwards. And finally, a new kicker. So here's the wish list then: a backup running back, one or two quality wide receivers, at least two new O linemen, two interior D linemen, a quality edge rusher or two if Crosby goes, and you retain or replace the inside linebackers, retain or replace Stokes and Kelly at cornerback, and add a free safety and a kicker. There's at least a dozen requirements there. And I've got actually up to 14 possible needs for the Raiders to address, a minimum of 9 that have to be done to get them close to being a 500 team next season. But it all starts, obviously for Mendoza, they're going to have high hopes that he's the quarterback of the future. But in truth, it all starts in the trenches for them. The O line and the interior of the D line getting sorted would give them the much needed foundations to build on for 2026 and beyond. But like I say, all this amount of change will not click into place immediately. And in a division where the other three teams are likely to be above 500 next season, the Raiders should look at 2026 as a just get through the season and try and close the gap on the teams above them, rather than the one they are going to have any chance of contending to make the postseason. So it's a pretty damn dim picture for the Raiders going into this off season, and they certainly need to have a really, really strong off season if they're to even be a slight factor next season. So not great summation there for the Raiders, but when you're coming from 32nd in the league, what do you expect? So that's it for the Raiders. Next up on my trawl through it will be the New York Jets, and that might not be a pretty picture either, but they'll be my next team I'll be covering. So look for that one to come up soon. See you later.